something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
Well, g'day, folks. How you going? We'll see how it goes tonight. 2 seconds ago, I didn't think you'd be able to hear me over the rain, but it seems to have died down just a wee tiny little bit. So thank you very much to the good Lord for the rain. We do need it. Could do with a little bit less of it at the moment because, boy, is it wet around here. And it's that clayey type dirt, so it sticks like proverbial shite to the hairy thing you stick your legs under in the cold. It's very, very messy. So if you like to keep your cars in pristine condition, not the place. Just between you, me, and the gatepost. I, luckily, am not one of those people. However, every time I get into the car, I drag another 2 inches of mud into it with me. And I am testing the little vacuum cleaner to get it out. I do wait until it's dried. That does seem to be the clear and obvious best way to do it. So, at any rate, can't complain. We need the water, and I think all the tanks around here at the moment will be almost full to brimming, given the torrential downpours we've had yesterday at times and today at times. At the moment, it's just sort of steady rain, but sometimes it's coming in hard and fast, as only it can in Queensland. And we're expecting probably the worst of it tomorrow. So if you are in the southeast corner of Queensland, batten down the hatches. I think pretty much the whole east coast. I don't think we're in danger of floods in the river systems at the moment. At least I'm unaware if there is any of that sort of going on. I might see if I can't have a look before the end of the show and see what pops up. Who was in first? Timmy Wilson. Nice to have you in, brother. And fingers crossed, mate, all the good work that's been going on and continues to go on gets done by the end of September. For those that don't know, Tim has had to do some pretty significant repairs to his fifth wheeler. For a variety of reasons, which we won't go into, but it's taken a little while, but by the sounds of it, he's getting into it. So, mate, great stuff. Look forward to when you can get it back on the road. And who knows, you might be able to join up with the small crew that looks like might be tagging along. Some people coming north, some people going south, and there might be some people going north and south. So we shall wait and see how that plays out. But I think Harm's coming back up to far north Queensland. And then he has plans, and I think is already booked, for the My Place event happening in Victoria, the My Place Campout, November 29 to December 2nd. So he'll probably make his way back down the road down that way like I will, with a few stops in between. So there's also another couple from Hervey Bay or that general area who are going to link up with us and come south. And if you are keen on doing that as well, I can tell you the plan at this juncture will be to be leaving the Gold Coast around the 22nd of November. So if you can get to here, or we have an opportunity to go down the inland route going down and coming back, we might, if you are feeling the urge to come back with me as well, we might go to the Donkey Sanctuary and spend a day or two there. I've got to tell you, there's nothing quite like hanging around with Sandy and Baz and 300 donkeys. They have a whole, there's a whole medical area for them, and then there's just the paddocks that they can play in. They're over 300 acres to go playing in at different times. And when you hear why this donkey sanctuary needs to be kept going, it needs the support that we can give it, and everybody that you know can give it. One of the most horrible things that goes on with donkeys is they are prized for a layer of, I think it's fat, and their blood. And that layer of fat is just under the skin. And of course, the donkey has to be skun to get to that layer of fat. Apparently, you get the best results from that layer of fat if the donkey is skun alive. So that's what happens to abandoned donkeys. And it happens here in Australia. Hence the need for a sanctuary, and the reason that the sanctuary's location is kept pretty quiet, because nobody wants trucks turning up in the middle of the night disappearing off with the herd. That would be a very dangerous and stupid thing to be doing, because I know Baz sleeps with one eye open, and that's usually the one staring down a scope. So I'd be very careful if I was wandering onto that property late at night. But that being said, there are people out there, thieving bastards, who will use them, do what they need to do. Well, thankfully, there are people like Sandy and Baz, and they will do whatever they can do to save donkeys. And they travel pretty much the eastern seaboard, Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria. They have travelled to South Australia in the past. And when they arrive, they find they're going to save one donkey and discover there's two. Quite often, there are multiple donkeys on properties because they do like that herd mentality. And there's usually two. They tend to couple up for life, donkeys. So if you've got a couple, then it's best to keep them together. So this new float that we were trying to raise some money for last week is so important. And that I've since spoken to Sandy and Baz about all of that, because I'll be honest, I had no idea floats were so expensive. However, there are a couple of little things that do need to be modified for their needs, and barriers around, because the animals that they pick up are different sizes at times, and they could potentially pick up and carry up to 4 donkeys at any one time, depending on their size, I guess. So there were some modifications and such that needed to be made around that, and we are continuing to try and find a company that might be interested in helping us in some way, shape or form achieve a goal of a new, very safe, effective, very Australian-made float for the Donkey Sanctuary. The Good Samaritan Donkey Sanctuary is the only one in Australia, as far as I am aware. And because the donkey was one of the Queen's, if not the Queen's, favourite equine animal, she didn't mind betting on the horses, but she really loved donkeys. And she was the patron of the, I want to say, the Royal Donkey Society or similar. The Queen and Sandy's mum actually had a relationship when she fired up the sanctuary as well. So, because obviously the Queen liked donkeys, and I'm not sure that that association continued beyond the passing of Sandy's mum, but just an interesting little footnote for it. So if you can help at all, the GoFundMe page I put up the other night, I don't think I've got it here sitting close handy in front of me, to GoFundMe and type in Donkey Sanctuary, and you might find something along those lines there for it. I think we raised a few $100s the other night, so thank you to everybody who chipped in a little bit. And if this is the first time you're hearing about it, folks, then please go and have a bit of a look, because like I say, the costs for one of these floats is absolutely staggering. Really surprised at just how expensive they are. But it does come down to being able to keep the animals safe. Bearing in mind, you can be towing quite a few ton, and you don't want the animals able to move around that much. Shifting weight while you're towing something is never nice. So that and a few other little things that will just keep the animals that little bit safer. I've just posted up the link now to the GoFundMe page. So if you would like to go and have a look, I've just posted that into the main chat. All right. There were a couple of other things I started here. What a lovely mud up to our... sorry, Sandra. Yes, lovely mud up to the eyeballs sort of day. Absolutely 100%. I misspent youth. I was roller skating, but roller skating. Those skills came back to me today while I was opening gates and closing gates. The clay here is diabolically slippery. And we have a number of gates to go through open and close on your way in and out. And ordinarily, there is absolutely no problem. But one gate today, I found both ends of it were desperately trying to help me dislocate a knee. Ice skating my way, rollerblading, whatever you want to call it, and leaving huge, great skid marks. Like, I was pretty proud. I managed to stay on my feet, and there were better portion of over 2 meter slide marks where I'd slid down this bit of... Anyway, enough for that. Keen, what are you keen about, Tim? Very keen to see how the countries that fully support the US pushing for World War III and the leaders of those countries don't have the support of the people who they are supposed to represent. Did you get that right? Yep, I think you worded that right. Absolutely. We'll go back to it. More to the point, Tim, what are the people in those countries going to do about it if they do not support the government supporting the US starting World War III? And do you think it will be the US that starts World War III, or will it be Israel? Or will the blame be apportioned to Iran? Because that's what seems to be going on at the moment. The US have sent another carrier battle group to the Middle East today and told that to hurry up getting there. That's the USS Abe Lincoln carrier battle group. Pretty significant. They've also sent a guided missile submarine. And, well, they've already got the USS Ronald Reagan carrier battle group there and at least one submarine in the Red Sea. We haven't been hearing too much about the Red Sea lately. And I have been watching some videos which I cannot confirm are authentic. This is why I haven't shown them to you. However, more of the things that are happening in the world are ringing true with these videos that I'm seeing in place. One of them in particular purports to be a Russian cruiser being sunk in the Red Sea. Now, whether that was sunk by Houthi rebels who fired a missile, anti-ship missile, harpoon missile at it and actually managed to get through the defenses or whatever, I don't know. But it seems quite surprising that we haven't heard or seen much reaction from Putin out of it. So I would be a little unsure as to exactly how true that sort of vision is at the moment. Talking very big about, obviously, a huge push at the moment. I don't know if your social media feeds are full of it. My social media feeds are dropping bombs on Russians. I'm getting a lot of body camera footage from Ukrainian soldiers charging through the lines, sort of thing, and through the trenches. I don't know why, because I'm not looking for that sort of stuff on my social media at all, but obviously somewhere in the algorithms it's pinged me for it. Are you seeing that? I'm also seeing a lot of other interesting, weird content. Now, last night, I want to say, because I'm not very au fait with reels and shorts and, all that sort of stuff, but last night I was flicking through a reel or a short or whatever, and I don't know, about 4 different very attractive ladies came up at different times of the day while I was flicking. And each of them had a story and were holding a wad of cash, Australian cash, right? Huge wads of it. Let me write down banks, Combank in particular. I need to talk about that. So huge wads of cash. And then she went on to explain how she gets that. She's a prostitute. Now, she doesn't call herself a prostitute. She doesn't really name it because on Facebook, and that's the feed I get because I don't do Instagram and Twitter and all that. She was talking about her clients and seeing her clients and how she had a 10-hour booking with a client. And they paid money up front for the deposit and here's the rest of it sort of thing. And they counted all out and she's got making $16,000 a day kind of thing. There was another one that came up similarly, huge wads of cash, and explaining that she'd spent time with a client who had this was a rebooking, and it was like the third or fourth time that this client had booked her. He comes to her city to see her and her specifically, yada, 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 yada. She said it makes her feel a bit uncomfortable when she's got to take it up her bum. Because, she ordinarily wouldn't do that kind of thing and she feels it kind of diminishes her a bit and, yada, 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 but still bends over and still takes the cash. Now, I'm not going to say, I think you probably figure out how I feel about that. I feel sorry for the girl. She's got to be slightly damaged in one way, shape or form or another. And that damage could simply be what society has done to her since she was born. Has desensitized her enough, has not been able to put enough morals into her, whether that be her upbringing, her parents, or the system, because parents today have very few rights. Parents today are there to pay and nothing else. You send your kids away for 8 hours a day just for school. Are you home or one of you home when they get home? There aren't too many single working parent families anymore. I was lucky. You are probably as lucky. Mum and dad at home. Mum probably didn't work, except at home, did everything at home. I was very lucky that was my existence. I mean, if Mum wasn't home for whatever reason when I got home from school and she wanted me to do something, there'd be a note on the table explaining what had to be done and 3 or 4 jelly babies as a bribe to make sure I did it. So, at any rate, I'll move on to another topic. Would you be surprised to learn that Australia spends $1.15 billion on the ABC every year? $1.15 billion. Now, the ABC are going backwards in the ratings, both in radio and TV, and to include the online. They don't, but they have an infrastructure that will billions and billions into, and now is used as the weaponized media arm for the Labor Greens, just to get their messages across and continue pushing the bullshit narratives like the spicy cough is what's responsible for so many athletes going down at the Olympics. Wouldn't be swimming in shit, would it? In the River Seine? No, wouldn't have anything to do with that. Well, maybe just those 16 that went down with E. coli poisoning. I don't know whether or not they wound up swimming the last event, which was meant to be a 10-kilometer marathon swim in that unholy piece of shit in the middle of Paris. I'm just glad that it's all over. I don't know how many athletes may have passed away. I'm sure there were quite a few You don't go and get to have those sorts of sporting events on every weekend and have ambulances filling up your local footy grounds and netball stadiums and not get it at the Olympics. But that was said. They had us looking at people like this bloke. Now, this is the bloke that won the gold medal in the women's boxing 66 kilo frame. This was him getting his medal. Does that say anything to you, folks? Well, if that one doesn't say anything to you, maybe this one will. This is the Israeli gymnastics team. Yes, the Israeli gymnastics team. What an amazing uniform, don't you think? Quite surprising. I mean, then there was this uniform, but I don't know. $1.15 billion, so the ABC can make excuses for this thing that is 36 years old. Her husband came out and defended her today, saying, you know, she did us all proud. Well, she may well have done herself proud. I personally felt that was an embarrassment to Australia, but I don't know too much about breakdancing. I did go and watch a bit more breakdancing, and everything I watched looked nothing like that. So I'm not completely sure. My first question was this the girl from the Paralympics trying it? You know, like giving breakdancing a go, because the Paralympics are run in conjunction with the Olympics, not 2 weeks later as they used to be. So I actually thought when I saw that photo, she was one of the Paralympians just out there giving it a go. Sadly not. Very sadly not. Her husband's come out and defended her, saying, you know, she did a great job. Her husband's also her coach. Yep. That means he got a free trip to Paris too. That'd be her second trip to Paris. She was there a bit over 12 months ago with her husband, identifying places where street dancing occurred and the kind of themes that they had. So she had a heads up as to what the competition might be like. Do you think? Absolutely the worst Olympics in my living memory. Great if you're a pervert. Great if you're a pedophile. Absolutely wonderful if you like watching people eat your shit. And that bloke being responsible for it all. I think there'll be a lot of people very happy that they're coming home. But will they be any the wiser? Maybe some things like this might jar people up a little bit. Now, I would vouch for whoever has written that. I have had the, not a dead body, an unconscious body, had to lift and move an unconscious body. And we had a tarpaulin or a sheet to do it with. And I can tell you, you can't do it with your fingertips. Not even for a light one. They just, didn't work. So observation skills, that's something we have all got to start re-employing, because I know many of us have been employing them and maybe have gone into a bit of a cycle of lull at the moment, because let's face it, it has been a bit of a taxing war on us. While the normies out there thinking the war is just coming, it's been going for years. And sadly, I don't see much of an end to it anytime soon, although they are pushing this whole Middle East thing at the moment. That obviously will be the trigger, but I have a sneaking suspicion China are going to play a role in the background of this too. Could that be with Taiwan, or could that be something further afield? There is some talk, because they could take Taiwan in a day or in an hour. It wouldn't be a problem. America is going to be caught up with 2 carrier battle groups in the Middle East. The Chinese have the Russians to look after their back, so to speak. And the Chinese have a fleet, the People's Army Navy, that is absolutely huge and armed to the teeth. So what if they decided to come into the South Pacific? What if they decided to take up residence in those ports they've helped build, or they've bribed corrupt South Pacific Island leaders into taking? Well, one of those South Pacific Island leaders is the guy from New Guinea. And the people of Bougainville are actively negotiating with the Chinese. Now, of course, the Chinese are very interested in Bougainville. For what reason? Well, could it be the old mine, you think? Possibly. What did they pull out of that? Gold and copper, if memory serves. I haven't looked into it recently. I'm pretty sure it was gold and copper. They shut the mine down. It wasn't just a function of the price of copper and gold at the time and how much it was costing them to get it out of the ground. It was also a lot to do with the unrest, the civil unrest on the island. Well, if the locals are getting what they consider to be their fair share out of it, they just might do a deal with the Chinese. Where does that leave us? That leaves us staring down the barrel of a 13-inch Chinese warship artillery gun. Fairly unpleasant, I would have thought. Fairly unpleasant. Speaking of unpleasant, a lot of people are saying there are some weird people sitting in the audience at Kamala Harris's shows, and it looks a bit like an AI fracture. Now, this is what tends to happen with AI if you're trying to do crowds and all this kind of stuff. Apparently, I have not any skills in that area. Trump, I believe, used this in either a tweet through Truth Social or a post on Truth Social, or with his discussion with Elon Musk today. I've got to admit I haven't heard all of that yet. And the bits that I have heard, I heard maybe the last 45 minutes or so of it. And I honestly don't know how long it ran. So there's a fair chunk prior to that I haven't heard, but we'll go back and have a look. He's been roundly criticized for bringing this up. I don't know. I haven't. That's a screenshot out of a newspaper, so I can't tell anything from that. Outside of it's very weird that you would have those sorts of faces, and I'll bring that up one more time, just so you can tell. It's very strange that you would have those sorts of facial distortions in an original digital photo or even in a film photo. Very, very weird, but not for AI. All I would do is caution you to be aware that AI exists, and it is exceptionally good and getting better every day. They are using it where they can to convince you to do the things you don't want to do. So resist, resist, resist at all opportunities to do so. Queensland. Well, Queensland have got a fabulous new, what would you call it, award, something that they can be, supposedly really proud of. What would that be? Well, that would be the fact that they've now been given the moniker of the homeless nation, or the homelessness capital of the nation. I'll get it out eventually. My apologies. The homelessness capital of the nation. I can't begin to tell you how sad it is to drive in certain places around the southeast corner of Queensland, but also further afield. The homelessness situation isn't just located on the Gold Coast, Brisbane and the Sunshine Coast. Yes, The Gold Coast, Brisbane and Sunshine Coast have serious homelessness issues, but so do many, 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 in fact, all regional areas as well. You see, what's happened by design, by management, they've engineered this housing crisis. Now, if Miles was so intent, this is the Queensland Premier, if he was so intent on fixing the problem, he should be picking up the phone to his mate Alba Sleazy and saying, listen, mate, stop bringing in 200,000 people a month. We're full up. You can have them at your place at the lodge, but no more are coming to Queensland. But this weak, sick, satanic little turd isn't that strong. In fact, he's in on it. So what's he doing? Well, he's going to cure the Queensland housing crisis by buying hotels. He's just bought their third hotel in Brisbane City, and then proudly announces that, no reason for a family to go homeless now. We've got hotels they can stay in. Really? That's not curing the homeless problem at all. The homeless problem are not those in crisis that need something straight away. The homeless problem are people who are living in tents beside rivers, under bridges, in vans, in cars, sleeping rough every night. They have a roof as such over their heads, rather than those people who are genuinely on the street and have nothing. But the numbers of people who are sleeping rough in their cars, in their vans, in their caravans, in their tents on nights like tonight, well, they're huge and growing exponentially. Queensland might be warmer in winter, but it hasn't been this winter. Not in the southeast corner anyway. It's been downright friggin' cold. There have been many single-digit nights. When I say that, we don't get too many single-digit temperature nights along the coast. Maybe, half a dozen a year. Well, we've had a lot more than that. We've had 2 weeks of it back to back in one stage, and on and off ever since. So people sleeping in tents, in caravan parks or on the side of the road are the homeless. They're the ones that need the greatest amount of help. Well, certainly an equal amount of help. Maybe not the greatest, but certainly an equal amount of help. But Miles, well, at a state level, you get absolutely nothing out of that twerp except friggin' gibberish, lies, and bullshit. Queenslanders, there is a vote coming up in October. We cannot afford to let this muppet continue in the state. But can we afford to let any other muppet that's currently in the opposition get up and have a go? I don't know. I really don't know. I'm thinking this mayor might be the bloke we call. He's had a gutful of the bullshit, and he's banned Welcome to Country. About bloody time. Bloody wonderful. Now, I haven't read the article. It's behind a paywall, so I can't even tell you what town where, but I can judge and guess it'll be far north Queensland or far northwestern Queensland somewhere, and they will have had enough. Why? Well, you don't feel very welcoming when the local dance troupe says, yeah, well, look, you got to pay us $150 or $200 or $250, or if you happen to be living in a metropolitan area, $1,500 to $3,000 each, in some cases, to come and do a Welcome to Country. I don't feel very welcome when I know that the person's been paid to turn up to deliver it. I would have thought a Welcome to Country, even though it was, even though there are some issues about its who created it, how it was created, and how it pertains to all the tribes across Australia, has not been adequately explained to me. But Welcome to Country is not something that I support in any way. In fact, along with many of you, I turn my back welcome to country. If that happens at something that I am at, and I don't pause the conversation I'm having with people, I'm not going to have that sort of bullshit foisted on me. And congratulations to this mayor, who seems to be standing up not just for himself, but for everyone. For everyone. I think that is a very important piece. Pieces. Sorry, I've just got to turn my speaker back on so I can hear when this thing finishes. I'm going to play you a piece now, which many of you may well have seen. I should know the name of this lady, but I've forgotten it. But it's what she has to say that you will find maybe a little daunting, possibly a little frightening. So listen very closely, particularly if you think you own your own land.
Australians, I have some breaking and very distressing concerning news. This is regarding your homes, your properties. Now, myself, Rod Cullerton, former Senator Rod Cullerton, and former Senator for Queensland, Len Harris, have been doing speeches talking about how the Albanese Labor government has cancelled and destroyed your land titles, how that's larceny, theft, how dare they, and that they'd allocated you a digital lot number. We did not know how serious this is. Australians are approaching us and they are handing over their titles because they have demanded their paper titles, concerned about this issue, and there is a very distinct language change. Now, a barrister described to me yesterday that what they've done is used law as alchemy, right, for organised crime, for the great taking, for a great theft. This is no conspiracy theory. I have the evidence in front of me. The only reason I'm not sharing other people's titles is because it has their names on. This is 100% happening. So what they've done is they've changed the language on all titles, whether they give you your paper title or not. It's finished. This is a done deal. It's over. The Labor Albanese government have stolen your homes from you. The language used to read in fee simple, which means freehold. In fee simple. And now it's changed to feasible, which means leasehold. You own your home with the government. Now, the reason this came to our attention, aside from former Senator Len Harris talking about the title deeds issue, is that my daughter and I noticed on homes that were for sale near us that they no longer said for sale and they no longer said sold. They now say we're selling and we're sold, because we is you and the government. They've stolen your homes. I demand Anthony Albanese make a public statement after saying on the ABC News, when he called me a conspiracy theorist, oh, it's not the end of private land ownership in Australia. Come on, don't be ridiculous. You've stolen people's properties and it's time to answer.
I can't agree more with what she said. And I haven't done that research to back it up, but Len has been going around now for some time explaining to folks how that works. And Rod Cullerton, of course, has been fighting the battle now for some years, has been over to the UK or sent people to the UK on missions over there on common law, Magna Carta, and other aspects. And it's, good to see that some people are still fighting. That's what I like to hear and see. And they are doing so with great vim and vigor, might be the best way of describing that. Good evening again to folks in the chat. I scrolling down to see if anybody's thrown up anything here for questioning. Cuz looks like Bosie's getting more and more exposed and the Americans not having him on their shows. Is that right? I didn't know. I'm not surprised. Watch this space. That's all I'll say about that at the moment. Watch this space. Many sad things, I think, are going to come out. Possibly sooner rather than later. But I did say the floodgates were going to open, and that it was possible to make sure that those floodgates didn't open. And that wasn't through the application of bribing someone to stay quiet. But it did require a bit of humility. And I don't know that there is any of that in the aforementioned retired Lieutenant Colonel. Just scrolling down, I must have got to the donkey part of the chat. Hello to Beck Freedom, who was, I don't know if she still is in the chat. Hello, Beck. How are you, darling? I hope things are going well. I watch stuff you put up, well, practically every day. And if you haven't made Beck Freedom a friend of yours on Facebook, folks, go and do it. She's also on Telegram and a few other bits and pieces. And you'll find her on Guru's show occasionally popping up there too. I had a bit of a chat with him last week. We are talking about a few possible things for the future. So watch this space. We'll see what comes out there. Would like to see a bit more of Guru. He's a good man. And I don't think he was taken for a ride by Bosie. I just think they came together at a time where they needed each other, and they stayed together, which is fine, great, wonderful. The brotherhood that Bosie claimed that he had with Dave for so many years, since Canberra, shoulder to shoulder, and I think the quote is, "The only bloke in this freedom movement I trust is Dave Graham." And then what happens? The first sign of some questioning from his, the only bloke he trusts in the movement, Dave Graham, he turns on him like a rabid dog. It's bewildering, concerning, confronting, I think. So I'm not surprised Americans have finally become aware of that. Now, I'm not saying that Dave has been over there white-anting, but Dave was effectively locked out of America by Bosie, who got to them before Dave could get to them and say, "Hey, here's what's going on," because he gave Bosie the benefit of the doubt. What that did was gave Bosie a head start of a week, nearly 2 weeks on the Americans. And he didn't need 2 weeks, he needed 2 hours. Got into the main ones, and all of a sudden they weren't returning Dave's messages or calls or anything else for that matter. That should give you an indication of the kind of bloke we're dealing with. What that 100% on the money. World War III started against the people. We're just starting to see the military start to poke its head up. Get the iodine ready. Never far from me, brother. Never far from me. Yes, well, they are definitely trying to start World War III on all fronts. They are doing that for one predominant reason, that is money. The only way their system continues is with money. And the only way that the money can keep going into the system is through weapons sales. That means weapons production, and America are pretty good at producing weapons. The problem they have is that because they've outsourced so much of their manufacturing abilities, and they've slimmed down their requirements to be able to make large volumes of missiles, of ammunition in quick time, they've now have almost reached a point where they have depleted their reserves. Now, bear in mind, the US still have, well, until recently, had missiles dating back to production dates of the 1980s. Why? Well, because they built them all, but they had no one to fire them at. So what do you do with them? Well, you don't decommission them. You just store them, because you never know. A war might come one day, and who cares what you're throwing at them? As long as it blows up and, does the damage, it'll do the job. Certainly, a lot of the older weapons would be made obsolete by new technology to protect, those areas. But a lot of them will get through as well. You got to bear in mind that the military types and minds behind this way of thinking are the same types of minds that came up with the carpet bombing of Dresden and the Blitz on London. So they're on both sides. Have absolutely no doubt about that. And with our defence budget this year at $55.5 billion, you would think we might be seeing some sort of return on investment outside of exercises here in Australia and running off to go and fight some other bastard's war somewhere. But oh no, our $55.5 or $55.7 billion defence budget is not being wasted in any way, shape or form. And if you believe that, I got a bridge in Sydney to say it. But if you thought, and I would have thought it reasonable to believe that the Australian Defence Force budget would be the most expensive item that we have on our budgetary list, if you get what I mean. If we're spending $1.15 billion on the ABC, and we're spending $55.7 billion on defence, what would be the next item, the largest item, or would defence be the largest item? Most countries, the defence budget is the highest budget in the country. But not here. Here in Australia, the highest budgeted amount for any department in the country is $62 billion and rising. In fact, that number could be out of date by a couple of billion already. What department handles a $64+ billion budget? Well, that would be the NDIS budget. We fund our handicapped better than we fund our military. Now, I would argue that the handicapped should be able to enjoy their lives as best as is humanly possible. I would also argue that some of the providers of services, some of the plan managers, are seriously corrupt individuals. If you happen to be in this business, and if you are in any way, shape or form looking after somebody else's budget, or working with a budget plan, or you are the budget planner, and you are making excessive rorting claims, that time is rapidly going to come to an end. It is unsustainable for this country to be forking out not just a little bit, but $8 to $10 billion a year more for these services being provided. And don't get me started on these services, because some of them are just such a rort. I have no doubt some of them are required, but I have no doubt some of them are a rort. I would consider somebody who requires 3 carers 24 hours a day deciding to go on a cruise as something we don't pay for. If you want to go on your cruise, great. We'll provide a carer. Not 3, a carer. Now, if that's not enough, you have to provide the rest of it. or family members or whatever. But whoever comes, they pay for their own ticket. The public doesn't fund one person to go on a holiday and pay for 4. And that is precisely what's happening now. Oh, it's only a 3-day cruise. Well, it might only be a 3-day cruise. But at $1,000 each, that's a day, probably more actually, because it's 24-hour day, 7-day a week. So you'd be making more than $1,000 a day. The system is being rorted, robbed. It is an unbelievable travesty that the people we want to help the most, those in the greatest need, may not be those people in a wheelchair or those people with some other form of disability. It might be the people who are living under the bridges. It might be the people who are living in the cars, who are living in the tents, in pissing rain. I damn sure know it will be those people who stand to fight and protect this country when the time comes. And I know while many people sitting in a wheelchair or, unable to get out of bed would like to come and fight, the reality of it is there's not much you can do other than get yourselves killed. We need to fund the people that can protect this nation from the threats from outside the nation, but more particularly from the threats inside it. I hope that can happen. It'll only happen, though, if we stand up and from our collective, these leaders rise up. Because God knows no one in the current crop of leadership, and I say that with inverted commas, in a political sense, no one is worthy of your vote. No one. There are members struggling to fight for us. The ones I'm thinking of are not in leadership positions, except maybe Senator Babbitt, who leads a party of himself. So, but I see Senator Roberts doing great things for us in the Parliament and trying as hard as he can to make ministers accountable, to make bureaucrats accountable. And I think Senator Roberts can hang a couple of scalps, including the second in charge of the CSIRO, still working on the top dog. He can hang those scalps on his desk and be proud of them, because it's bastards like that in our bureaucracy that are stealing our money, rorting the systems, paying themselves phenomenal amounts of money and delivering the orders of some other group, not the Australian people, certainly not the Australian government. They work for a whole different cabal. It's got to be stopped, and it's only us that can stop it, folks. It's only us that can stop it. $62 billion, folks, for an NDIS, NDIA rort that is going to continue, if only to trap those doing the rorting. I have no love of Bill Shorten in any way, shape or form. He is the minister in charge of the NDIA. Now, they make a lot of squealing noises about, yes, we're going to clean this up, we're going to clean this up. But, people with disabilities having this money taken off them is going to look terribly bad. But the simple fact of the matter is the nation cannot afford to be robbed by its weakest people. And I say that with the utmost respect to anybody suffering a disability. But the fact of the matter is, we will look after you. You cannot, on your best day, look after us. Therefore, the support services need to go where they need to go, be that defence, be that health. And yes, I admit and agree that those on a disability support should be able to go out, should be able to go out and have days out, should be able to go out and ride horses or go to the beach or climb a mountain if you're capable. But we have service providers out there who say, yes, you can climb a mountain, Carl. No, you don't have to get out of the wheelchair. We'll get a crane in and you can touch the rock every 10 or 15 feet as the crane brings you up the side. No, that's no trouble at all. And my husband, he knows a bit about that sort of thing. In fact, we happen to have a crane, so we might be able to use that, might make it a bit cheaper. And what do? They write up a full day and a half of crane hire and this, that, and the other bloody thing. And if you've ever had to hire a crane for a day, you'll know just how expensive that little jaunt can be, because they start charging you from the moment they scratch their balls at the office thinking about coming to the job. And they pack everything up and they get paid for that. And then they get in their vehicle that only travels at best 80 kilometres an hour if you're lucky, drive it to the site, and then do the job, bugger eyes around, and get back. And once they get back to the yard, that's when they stop charging you. So cranes, very expensive. But yes, we can do that, because we'll just put that in as part of your requirement. This month, next month, the month after. Folks, if I figures that I'm aware of, managers and service providers, $80,000 for a weekend, 2 nights away. $80,000. And that's a cheap one. This rorting has to end. And if you are part of it, folks, I urge you, back away very carefully now. Try and wash your hands and clean yourself of that stench as best you can, because there is a fraud system coming that will catch you. And I support this one 100%. I'm not into Big Brother in any way, shape or form, but this sort of robbing of the people by unscrupulous operators is the kind of thievery I think should end with a rope and a loud snapping noise. These are greedy people who do think of nobody but themselves. How much can I get? It's very sad. I just hope we can pick it all up and make it a bit different. And that requires us all raising our vibration somewhat. And I think we can do that, can't we? I'm sure we can. Now, folks, I don't know whether or not you are a friend of mine on Facebook or not, but if you're not, and you're not part of the Telegram channels or anything like that, you may not have seen, I took some photos the other night. Now, this was the last night I was able to see the moon, but I'm so enamored with the photos that I thought I'd show them to you to see what you think. And maybe we can turn a couple of these photos into something for our merch. I don't know if Vince is in the chat tonight, but might be possible to put this sort of stuff on cups and, you know, other bits and pieces. That'll give you a bit of an idea. And then I thought, no, I want to get a bit closer than that. So I got a bit closer. And then I thought, no, I reckon I can still get closer. And so I got a bit closer. I'm absolutely staggered at the ability of this camera to take such a good photo of the moon at such a great distance. So I thought maybe something like this could work on a mug, like a coffee mug or something like stubby holder. And rest assured, folks, I'm going to be taking a lot more moon images. I've had a bit of a thing with the moon all my life, and I've never had a camera or a telescope that could get me this close. So rest assured, in the coming days, weeks, and months, you're likely to see some what I would term semi-creative camera artistry from me. We'll see what can happen. I think the next full moon is the 19th of August. So provided it's not cloudy and persistently raining, I will be out there taking some photos and trying to get life, the universe, and everything happening with that. And if they're any good and you want them, I'll make them available. So you want to do something with them, you can do something with them. I have no problems with that. I've proved the moon to be an orb and that it's not a reflection. Well, I think I've proved it's not a reflection. And it certainly does look orb-like, I grant you. But let's just wait until we get a full moon. And then let's see whether or not it still looks the same way. I think that'll be the big thing. This camera is not known for its depth of field. It tends to flatten images, particularly at that focal length. Those images were shot at 3,000 millimeters. So they tend to flatten the image. You don't get that depth of field that you do with a DSLR or a good lens. But I'm afraid I can't afford the $15,000 lens, baseball bat sized lens that you need for that sort of thing. So we get what we get, and I got to say I'm pretty happy. Daniel, I like what you're saying there. The moon is a plug for the bottle we are in. How very interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Vince is in the chat. Hello, Vince. Tim's Truth. Oh, all right. Very good. Nice of you to point that out. Thank you, Vince. All right, folks. Oh, there you go, Black Sheep. I think you might be onto something there. I think well, I haven't gone into analyzing them too closely yet, but where's the photo up close? This photo has a few oddities to it. So if you look at the first and lowest large crater, there is something in the middle of that crater that comes up above the height or very close to the height of the crater rim. That's the thing about craters. They don't usually have mountains in the middle of them or whatever that happens to be. Very weird. The other interesting thing, there's a few other interesting sort of constructions, I'll call them loosely. I'll cut these photos down and we'll do that on another night. But I don't know what they are. Interestingly, though, this camera will also do video at that focal length. I'm not sure that is enough to actually see the detail that Bruce Sees All gets with aircraft or UFOs lifting off and landing on the moon's surface, or being able to see some of the things tracking their way across the moonscape as such, vehicles that look to be driving, mining maybe. And what if it was mining? Could they be mining? Could it be something that you've never heard of called hydrogen-3? Yep, it could be. And if it is, it would change our world in the way that we use, create, power in a very, very significant way. But for that to be true, you've got to believe that the moon is real. If you believe the moon is real, then the Earth must also be round, not flat. And that opens up a whole heap of interesting other questions. And I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. Because I'm sure a lot more disclosure is on the way very shortly. Very shortly. At least that's what I'm hearing. All right. I'm going to love you and leave you tonight, folks, but I'm going to love you and leave you with a beautiful story. I'd like to introduce you to number one. Now, here on the property, we have a number of sheep. And Sean, the ram, did his job. And we have a number of those sheep that are pregnant. And last night, or very early this morning, in the pouring rain and the freezing bloody cold, this little lamb was born. Number one. It's been christened. But because number one sounds a bit Star Trek-y, that's been changed to Uno. So Uno is a new member of the family. And looking forward to meeting more, because we have quite a few, I think, that are going to drop over the next little while, and it's going to be a lamb fest around here for a little bit. All right, folks, be safe on the roads. They are bloody slippery, and the dickheads still think they're a racetrack.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!